Why should you buy NIO stock in 2025? And of course, this is not financial advice. This is just my personal opinion. I'm not telling you to buy the stock or sell the stock. I'm just sharing what I know and what I learned from the managers and the situation here in China. Okay? And I think we're at a critical turning point. So it all started when I had dinner with the Envo manager, former NIO manager. He's been with NIO for the past 9 years, guys. Yeah, he's one of the veterans, all right? So I asked him, there's a lot of talk about profitability in Q4. What's your opinion on this? And his whole aspect of what's going on within the company, right? Because we got to get the inside dip of like, how is the company doing? Are they doing well? Are they kind of struggling? What's going on? So first of all, I asked him if he's confident about profitability. And I talked about, you have your stock, you own NIO stock from, the company gave you NIO stock. I have NIO stock, what should we do with it? And I asked him, his opinion. He said, hold on to it, man, because we are going to be in for quite a ride. And a lot of this hinders on being profitable in Q4, which seems like a tall task. And I asked him, NIO's losing so much money per quarter, like profitability, is that really achievable? And I'm hearing a lot of people online saying that the chances of achieving profitability in Q4 are very slim. And he said, bro, you don't know what's going on, man. Yeah. And he shocked me. Holy crap. And he said it this way. He said, some of the NIO managers that you know before, they're no longer NIO managers. Why? Why? Well, simply because there are very, very, very strict targets that you must meet. And if you can't meet that, well, you're going to be demoted. And that's what happened to a lot of the other NIO managers that I know of. They got demoted because they simply can't meet the target. And he said this is actually showing mercy because other sales reps, you can't meet the target, bye-bye. And in fact, anybody that can't meet the target, bye-bye. Apparently they fired a lot of people, okay? And it's for the better, right? You can't meet the target, you're kind of like dragging the company back, bye-bye. Oh, yeah. And then if you've been with the company for a long time and you're not just a frontline sales rep, your manager, well, if you can't meet the target, demoted. Simple as that. No mercy at all. Pretty crazy. Yeah. So a lot of new managers got demoted. People got demoted because they can't meet the target. They're very target driven. And on top of that, they're actually closing a lot of unprofitable stores. Make that very clear. Okay? If a showroom, a new house or a new space doesn't get enough sales per month to justify the cost of the personnel cost, the rent, all that kind of stuff, they're going to close it down. Okay? Like the NIO that, this NIO, I bought it from the NIO space in Shine Hills, which has been around for a long time. They recently closed that because there was the NIO Service Center that was a couple blocks away, and there was basically no need to have that store. And, why pay that extra rent? Why pay the extra personnel? And he did some math breakdown. He said, it's not just the salary. You're saving so much on bonuses. You're saving so much on Social Security as well, because Social Security payment here in China is quite high. So you're saving a lot of money on that. But at the same time, you might have the feeling that they're short-handed in some aspect. And he said for his store, he's definitely a little bit short-handed. But if you think about it the other way, even though you don't have that many sales reps, you have collectively more orders, more sales per sales rep. So yes, you work harder, but you get more orders, you get more sales, you get more bonuses, you earn more than you did before. So at the end of the day, it's kind of worth it for them, that they're working their butts off. So efficiency, I guess, is that point. But then he said, not only are they closing a lot of the new houses, new stores, I know in China, in Beijing, there's one in Tongzhou, which is kind of like one of the most like outskirt parts of Beijing. They have a NIO house there, and I remember the general manager of NIO in Beijing. He actually told me, they were able to negotiate a super low rent for that NIO house, which was really, really worth it. But it seems like rent is going to return back to normal, and that store doesn't meet the targets. They're going to close it down, just like that. They're going to cut it off. Anything that's unprofitable, cut it off. All right, only keep the profitable bits. And he said, not only that, okay, not only are they like increasing efficiency, making huge cuts for these stores, rent payments, social security, personnel costs for these frontline workers, but also at HQ, the headquarters of NIO, they've also done a ton of job cuts, right? And reorganizing things to make sure that, all the groups, they have the highest efficiency. There's no redundancies in terms of the teams and personnel. And through that process, they're going to save hundreds of millions of RMB just from the salaries and the social security. And he said, this is a very important aspect of being profitable. And he said, not just sales, cost, because NIO has always increased sales over the past few years. You've seen the sales increase, but it's all about also controlling expenses. So he's very confident that with the Envoy L90, Envoy L80, there's going to be a ton of sales, right? No problem with that. And those cars, despite it seeming so cheap, they also have decent margins as well. So with that in mind, you combine that big explosive growth in deliveries and, more importantly, extreme cost-cutting measures, all right, that are necessary and justified. The amount of money that they will save will help them become profitable. And he's fully confident that NIO will actually be profitable in Q4, that they will achieve that task. They're on the path of obtaining that goal. And just based on what he's seeing, what he's hearing, the amount of demotion that some of his colleagues have gotten simply because they can't meet the target, very cutthroat. So very performance driven, very target based, and very hardcore. And they're very serious about being profitable. So it seems like that they are on track to become profitable. Of course, in September, we are going to have Q2 results. Now, Q2 results, they will reflect some changes that the company has implemented. So a portion of the cost-cutting measures will show up in Q2. You're still going to expect like losses, but maybe better losses, like fewer losses. And we'll get a clear picture of the trajectory that NIO is on. And I think by then, investors will have a better grasp at whether or not NIO will become profitable. And he said, it's just time to hold on to your NIO stock, man. Like you hold on to your NIO stock, you're going to be in for the ride, right? Profitable, it's no time to sell. That's what he told me. It's no time to sell. And till the year end, until next year when they release this year's Q4 report, then we'll be able to know, is NIO actually profitable in Q4 of 2025? And he firmly believes that the answer is going to be yes. And if that happens, the stock, you're not going to see double digits. It's going to go up like crazy, all right? It's not just going to be like in the 10s, maybe 20s, 30s, maybe even higher, okay? So very, very important to keep that in mind. And I'm pretty confident that they'll be able to achieve it. So hold on. If you've been holding on for a very long time, well, not financial advice, but holding on for another half a year. If you already held on for many years, well, let's see what happens, right? So as always, stay safe, stay healthy,